Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Riz Talks. I'm your host Riz, and I'm glad to have you join me today as we explore the great divergence, technology, taxes, tomorrow's economy. Our motto is to think again about our views. Let us reconsider the way we see the societal changes that will affect our world now and forever. Today's title is The Economic Evolution 4.0. That's the digital revolution. We're tackling one of the most consequential questions of our era. How is technology reshaping the global economy? Why are the richest getting unimaginably richer while the rest are all getting poor? And what are we doing about it? We'll cover four major areas. First, how mechanized farming, robotics, IoT, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence are transforming economies. Second, why are we seeing the rise of trillionaires? Third, the uncomfortable truth about how private equity and multinationals are getting richer, evading taxes at the expense of people employed there. And finally, where this is all heading and why the solutions we need aren't being discussed. Let's start with the agricultural revolution happening right now, not with a bank, but with a quiet fleet of robots. Remember, most of agriculture is done by a very few number of people on this planet to feed the rest. This revolution started with mechanized farming, and so we're going to discuss it in different parts. Part one, how technology is changing economies. The global agricultural robots market hit $25 billion in 2025 and is projected to reach 75 billion by 2030. All the people working on those farms are now redundant, growing at nearly 25% annually. Labor shortages have become structural as older workers retire and fewer young people enter farming, forcing producers to turn to autonomous solutions. The EU funded AgroBoost project is deploying agro robotics, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality across six European countries, from fruit harvesting to livestock management, specifically designed to help women, young professionals, and farmers with mobility issues. Meanwhile, low cost agricultural robots are quietly transforming food security, favoring resilience over hype and local intelligence over cloud dependency. So, what's actually changing? Artificial intelligence isn't eliminating farm jobs wholesale, it's shifting demand towards higher value skills. Farmers are becoming data interpreters, technology overseers, and strategic decision makers. The smaller producers often lag in technology adoption, meaning the benefits aren't shared equally. The most important question isn't whether AI replaces farm jobs, but who carries the risk when AI becomes part of everyday decisions. Beyond agriculture, AI is projected to boost global trade by 34 to 37% and world GDP by 12 to 13% by 2040. But the World Bank warns that without targeted investment in infrastructure, energy, and education, AI may become a new driver of global inequality. Higher income countries already host 77% of all data centers and 86% of supercomputing capacity, leaving most developing economies dependent on importing cloud services. So, technology is delivering enormous productivity gains, but those gains are concentrating at the top, which brings us to the new trillionaires coming up. Industries from automotive to textiles and beyond are now totally run by robots from start to finish, at times without any human intervention. All the factory workers have been replaced. They were the biggest reason people moved to the cities 100 years ago, or a little over that. The same is applying to white collar jobs now, with artificial intelligence taking over most repetitive and simple tasks in the office workspace. Robot baristas and food delivery is another that's hurting the hospitality and gig economy workers. Why the rich are allowed to become richer, even trillionaires? That has never happened in history. Let me give you a number that should stop you in your tracks. The world's 12 wealthiest individuals now control $2.6 trillion, more than the combined wealth of the poorest half of the global population. That's 12 people versus 4 billion people. The combined net worth of roughly 3,000 billionaires reached 18.3 trillion in 2025, a 16% increase from the previous year and an 81% surge since 2020. Elon Musk became the first individual to approach $1 trillion in net worth, and he may not be the last. He earns in 4 seconds what an average person makes in a year. Let me repeat that. He earns in 4 seconds. One, two, three, four. What an average person makes in a year. The AI boom is a major driver. The so called Magnificent Seven tech companies invested over $400 billion in AI infrastructure in 2025, pushing their stocks up 27.5% and creating at least 50 new AI billionaires globally. Why is this allowed? Oxfam's report points to a chilling reality. Billionaires are 4,000 times more likely to hold public office than an average citizen in this age. They own more than half the world's major media companies and all the dominant social media platforms. In the US, the 100 wealthiest families spent 2.6 billion during the last presidential election, one-sixth of all campaign contributions in a country of 342 million. This is a political takeover, plain and simple. Lobbying for tax cuts, weakened antitrust laws, and reduced oversight enriches the wealthy, who then reinvest in more lobbying. Policies supported by the wealthiest have a 45% chance of becoming law. The opposition reduces that likelihood to 18%. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed for those with the power to design it. Part 3, the tax avoidance. How private equity, multinational corporations, and the like are getting away with it. Let's talk about how the rules are bent legally. The carried interest loopholes allows private equity managers to pay capital gains tax rates, typically about 20%, on income that should be taxed as ordinary compensation, which could be 37% or more. And then they should be added if they're making millionaires. Every million they earn, they should be a higher percentage. And for billionaires, obviously more. Why does this loophole persist? Because it's fiercely protected by one of the most well funded lobbying machines in Washington. And same in Europe and other parts of the world. Private equity associations spend millions directly and indirectly in lobbying to keep it. But the real scale of tax avoidance comes from multinationals. Enter the double Irish with a Dutch sandwich. A tax structure used by Google, Apple, and Amazon to channel billions through Ireland, the Netherlands, and ultimately to tax havens like Bermuda or the Cayman Islands. Apple's version allowed it to pay an effective tax rate of just 0.005% in Ireland on Europeans' profits in 2014, far below Ireland's 12.5% corporate rate and the US rate of 35% at the time. However, after a decade long legal battle, Apple was forced to pay Ireland 14.25 billion back in taxes and interest. Even after Ireland closed these loopholes in 2015, US companies continue to hold large amounts of profit abroad in tax havens, suggesting the problem was never entirely caused by the Irish tax policy. The OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation Development's Global Minimum Tax, Pillar 2, was supposed to fix this, setting a floor of 15%. But in January 2026, a new side by side package effectively exempted US headquartered multinationals from many provisions, undermining the global fight against corporate tax avoidance. And finally, part 4, future impact and why nobody's doing anything about it. A McKinsey study estimates that up to 800 million jobs could be disrupted by AI by 2030, which is next few years. Economists have developed a framework showing that a technological progress it devalues, showing that as technology progresses, it devalues labor. OpenAI itself has released policy proposals acknowledging the scale of disruption, calling for robot taxes, public wealth funds, and 4-day workweek trials to cushion the economic fallout. They propose shifting taxation away from labor towards capital, recognizing that automation will reduce reliance on human work. But here's the problem. By the time reactive measures are necessary, those controlling the AI economy may be powerful enough to evade meaningful taxation, and citizens too weak to demand their share. History tells this story repeatedly. Once power concentrates, the powerful reshape the rules. The Medici did it, the robber barons did it, Big Pharma did it, but no Gilded Age titan ever wielded the kind of power that transformative AI may create. Universal basic income has been floated as a solution many times, but critics point out that UBI, universal basic income, could end up justifying even greater disparities in wealth, reinforcing divisions between AI owners, those skilled in using AI, and those who are merely recipients of its benefits. So, why aren't we discussing or implementing these real solutions? Because those who benefit from the status quo, upcoming trillionaires, the private equity barons, the multinational tax engineers, have the resources to keep the conversation exactly where it is. Lobbying, campaign finance, media ownership, the levers of political power are overwhelmingly concentrated in the same hands that benefit from technological concentration and tax avoidance. So, what would a genuine solution look like? First, tax reform. Close the carrot interest loophole. Implement a billionaire tax and wealth taxes on extreme fortunes. Strengthen the global minimum tax without side deals that exempt major economies. Second, technological steering. As economists argue, we can guide innovative efforts to increase labor demand and create better paying jobs. Robot taxes, vector augmenting progress, and steering automation towards tasks that complement rather than replace human labor are all on the table. Third, public wealth funds. OpenAI's proposal to create a public wealth fund funded by the taxing AI-driven productivity gains could provide a permanent solution of social dividends, fast response, social safety, net programs, and portable benefits that aren't tied to traditional employment as essentials. Fourth, democratize ownership and governance. Break up big media concentration, strengthen antitrust enforcement, reduce the influence of money in politics through campaign finance, reform, and lobbying restrictions. Remember, this has been done in the past with Standard Oil. The billionaire gains in 2025 alone could have provided for every person on earth with $250 each, while still leaving billionaires 500 billion richer than before. This isn't a scarcity problem, it's a distribution problem. And until we confront the political power that protects this distribution, the technology that could lift all of humanity will continue to enrich only a few. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Risk Talks. Are we living in a way that will leave humans better in the future? It's now time to act. So please share the message with others, think again, challenge ideas, join the conversation, and subscribe. This is Risk Talks. Be curious, be kind, and come back for more.